All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Manny, Gabe, Heck, Goose, and Paul.
All right.
Stumped. In this episode, we have special guest, Paul Guido. We cover topics that range from customers, small business, stump grinding, landscaping, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Brian Tracy and Napoleon Hill. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, Paul, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm blessed to be here. That's why I got my blessed shirt on.
I like it. So this is fantastic. We all went to high school together.
Yeah.
Obviously, as of recently, me and Paul kind of reconnected, and he really reached out to grab a couple Bless shirts, which I totally appreciate, which is obviously the sponsor of the Rotated Views podcast. And then from there, I'm like, wait a second, dude, you got your own business going. Let's get you on the show.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know about that. But then, obviously a little bit of, a little chat that we had, and now you're here. And I appreciate that. And as I tell most people, this is a platform that we provide for small businesses throughout our area, and 90% of the people who jump on this podcast never have done this before. So it's all good. But we're definitely excited to have you on. And for those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, let us know.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here. My name's Paul Guido. I'm the owner-operator of PG Stumps. I do tree stump grinding and a little bit of landscaping. And prior to that, actually, full disclosure, I did start a full-time job today. So
Nice.
I will be doing my business on the side, back to 2 jobs.
I like it.
But just want to be honest for the podcast.
Yeah.
Before, I'm actually working with the tree service, so I'm still outside. But before doing all this outdoor manual labor stuff, I had a 11-year career in corporate finance.
Wow.
And had enough of that.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, I had to walk away from that. And, now here I am. I love talking about myself now because I just like to share my story.
Yeah.
And maybe if someone hears it and helps somebody, then somebody can be helped.
Absolutely. And I will say, this guy has the best smelling coffee I think I've ever smelled. I don't even know what's going on. Shout out to Audi. I didn't realize their coffee smells amazing. Aldi, sorry.
Not Audi.
Audi is what I used to drive when I was a knucklehead. Bought a car I couldn't afford. Young and dumb.
They might make good coffee too.
They may. You never know. Some of these cars, I think they make coffee inside. Well, no, some of these cars now tell you need coffee. Yeah. There's like a little, image that pops up. All right, so how did you get started in this specific industry? Because this is not something, especially the stump grinding.
Yeah.
Did you see it somewhere? Did you like, wow, that looks lucrative? Did you know somebody?
I actually had no idea it was the thing.
Yeah.
So how I got into it was I text my now employer, shout out to John Pond Street Service.
Yeah.
But I texted him last year and I said, I'm looking for this trailer. Yeah. XYZ, gave him some specs. He's always out and about, sees stuff. And I said, I want to cut some grass on the side, and I need a trailer to pull a mower.
Yeah.
About 15 seconds later, he calls me, and he says, you are not cutting grass, and I am not going to help you find this trailer. And I was like, okay.
Thank you very much.
He said,
so I'm not getting that number for the trailer?
Yeah. He was like, you're going to buy a stump grinder and you're going to grind tree stumps.
Wow.
And I was just, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, you might as well have been talking Ukrainian.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was sitting there on the phone. I was like, hang on. I'm like, John, I have no idea what you just said. He goes, listen. He goes, you're going to buy a stump grinder. He goes, I'll give you some stumps. He goes, trust me. It's a thing.
Yeah.
He just kept saying, trust me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know that, right? I never used one. I couldn't even pick one out if I saw one.
Sure.
And he goes, just trust me. He goes, I got to go look some up and we'll talk later. I said, okay. So I did what everyone does when you don't know something, Google.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is insane because of the prices on them.
Yeah.
I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
More on that later. But So then I found some cheap little ones, and I'm like this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, this is kind of my price range.
Yeah.
That I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
And
all of a sudden, you had a budget. It was just like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
15-second phone call. Yeah. This guy figured it all out.
So, yeah, I'm like, how about this one? He goes, nah, that's junk. You know, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And I'm like, well, that's probably the end of it, because I can't go up to this level of, you know, machinery. And he texted me back, you know, a couple minutes later. He actually found the machine I still have now and I run. And he's like, here you go buy this. And I seen the price on it, and I was like, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. I'm not going to mention the price. It's kind of irrelevant. But then I was like, dude, that's crazy. I can't buy that.
Yeah.
He called me back another like 10 seconds later again. Then I got my first business lesson from him. He probably don't even know it. But he told me, basically, this is what you do. You go get you finance it, and then try to structure the loan however you need to. And that machine, he's like, I guarantee you will make that money.
Yeah.
And, you know, got into little specifics, you know, and then I just did it. And he just kept saying, trust me.
Yeah.
And I did. And then so I got a loan and got that machine. Oh, you know, I skipped the funny part too, actually. So I was like, man, I kept reminding him, I'm like, I don't know anything about these machines. I'm like, you know this, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, trust me, I got you. Just go buy this machine.
Trust me.
Now,
it's kind of scary.
It's like, it's this, you know, they're kind of intimidating looking, but they got a motor. You know, there's like 4 wheels on the front. Like, it's kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I feel like I should know something.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'm like, what should I look for? Like, I feel like it's almost like I would compare it to somebody going to buy a used car, right? Yeah. You want to know what you're looking for. Like, should I check the fluids? Like, what about the tires? Like, I should know something like I'm looking for. So I'm asking him, I'm like, well, like, can you come with me to look at it?
Yeah.
Like, what do I look for? And he's just like, nah, don't worry about it. And that was it. I'm like, I was like, dude, what the heck? It's this crazy. I'm like, this is nuts. And he's like, trust me, just go buy it.
I never heard someone say trust me so much.
Yeah, that's what he kept saying. And he knows I trust him. That pulls on my heartstrings.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm telling you. He goes, you want to make money? He goes, this is what you got to do. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm like, that's pretty crazy. He goes, listen. He goes, they're a very abused piece of equipment. They break all the time. And he goes, it's going to break, but I got a good mechanic. I was like, okay. I'm like, this sounds promising.
So invest all this money, that thing's going to break.
Yeah. Sure enough, it's breaking. But, you know, again, I was getting these little, so he would also tell me, you know, things to, you know, once I got it, it was like I was getting these little business lessons.
Yeah.
Along with, you know, everything he was telling me. And, so I ended up just going and buying it. I had no idea what it was, never touched a grinder, never used one. I had no idea what it looked like.
Right.
And I just went and I was like, here you go, I'm buying that. And the guy was even like, did you ever use one? I was like, nope. And then the guy was like, all right, this guy, he literally showed me how to use this thing in the parking, or in the, like, the lot where they sell his, like, machinery.
Right.
Like, this guy showed me how to use this thing. And I was like, all right, so, yeah.
All right, so hang on. So I'm going to explain something. There's a lot of people who are listening right now have no idea what's going on with the machinery he's talking about. All right, so what happens is you have a tree that either died or you just want it removed from your property, whatever, or business. Tree guys come out, they chop this bad boy down. They leave an actual stump, the tree stump at the bottom, which depending on how big the tree is, this thing could go, I mean, Paul, you could probably tell us, but it can go anywhere from inches to feet wide.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then this machine that he bought, John is telling him to buy, literally is grinding out this stump to the point where it gets all its roots and everything, and it kind of like shreds it. For lack of better, you know,
it's like a giant like wood chipper that you put on top of it.
Basically, it's just
it's turning what's left in the ground and basically dirt and mulch.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't do it initially when they get the tree removed because it's an added expense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it leaves some work for me. And
But anyway, so then, all right. So just to clear that up, because some people are like, I still don't know what's going on. So that's what this machine that he bought. That's not cheap, very expensive. Never used one. Guaranteed to break.
Yes.
Trust me.
It will break. It will break. But I got a good mechanic. That was the line. But I got a good mechanic.
Right,
so I picked this thing up,
right.
and I did a Facebook, whatever advertisement, post, whatever.
Yeah.
And and then he actually sent me to my first stump, and it was a text message saying, "Here's an address. Go do the stump. Charge this much. Don't tell them it's your first one." I was like,
Yeah.
So, I was like, Roger that.
So did you try this machine out on
nope.
anything?
Nope.
This was literally your first one.
I've always been the kind of person where I'm like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I try to think of the positives on that because that can end badly.
So 14 days later, this guy's still grinding that thing out.
Yeah.
So how'd that go? How was your first experience?
Actually, it was it was pretty simple.
Yeah.
And it's like he was saying, he's like, it's easy. It's just a couple joysticks.
Yeah.
He told me, things to be careful of.
Yeah.
Make sure, not too close to cars and stuff like that. But, it went smooth. And I sent him a picture. I said, is this what I'm supposed to do? Because Stump's gone. And
what else?
And then he's like, yep, clean it up and get out. I said, I'm out. And then that was that.
Wow. How long ago was that when you did it?
That first one, that was last summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm still kind of new, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
Wow.
yeah, and then, just watching videos, asking people questions. You learn a lot from watching videos. I know it gets, people like make fun of, if you mention YouTube, but it's like you actually can learn a lot from good people. And I found out the more I did, the more I was looking around on social media, there's a lot of people that do just that.
Yeah.
So I would follow them and see what they do and just get better. Just get better at what you do.
Yeah. So
here I am.
So how did it work? Was he now tipping you off because it's John's tree service, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so he's knocking these trees down. Is he then like kind of plugging you in your business, or how'd that work?
Well, what happens is if it's part of so if he sells a tree job, then he'll take it down and offer the stump. And then if he gets calls that, it's just for the stump, he'll send me out to get those. But now I needed, a little bit of a little more income.
Yeah.
And winter's coming.
Yeah, for sure.
And so he had a spot open up, and he's like, hey, I can take you on full time and still do your thing on the side. And
nice.
I was like, hey, sounds good.
Nice.
I was like, just so I'm not going back to an office. I ain't going.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that.
All right. So give us your story, right?
Yeah.
Let's rewind back. You graduate from school. You get a corporate job. What was going on for the 11 years and that you're just fed up with?
So I always tried to make myself want to do that, I think. And I just got
it's like forced.
I don't ever want to sound like I'm blaming someone or anyone, but I always I felt like that's what I was being like kind of, I don't want to say forced to do, but like guided. Like, hey, you should do this.
Yeah.
You have these grades, you can go to college, you can, you should do this.
And then you have to convince yourself that's the right path.
Right. And I tried to do that the whole time. And, and it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
And so, I was just doing that for so long. And, my last position, I was actually, I was at Amtrak, corporate finance, which is like, when I got that job, I was like, I made it. Yeah. That was it. I was like, this is, everything has come full circle.
Right.
Can't beat this job.
Huge company.
And it just had everything.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand going to work every day. I just woke up every day and I was just like, here we go again. Same thing. Same train every day in, same train every day out, same thing in between. I was like, this just killed me.
Yeah.
And I just got fed up with it. And then, but I always, so another thing I don't mind talking about, I don't know if you want to go there or not, but I was also a big drinker.
Yeah.
So last July, actually, I quit drinking once and for all for good. And then that's when things really started like clearing up for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I was like, you know, like I said, I was waking up every day like, here we go again, and you know, same thing. But I was always like, well, you can do better for yourself. You know, like you can make your life better. Like it's not your job. Basically, I was convincing myself, like you said, like this was the path I was supposed to go on. This is where you're supposed to be. This is the job. Like you need to be grateful for what you have. Basically, I was like convincing myself, and once I just cleared my mind and then just started getting my mind right, I was like, no, I can do better than this job, and a lot of things went into me leaving.
So you land this gig. It's pretty much the ultimate thing of that's where you plan to go. But as you're telling us, it felt like this was more of like you felt like you were doing stuff that you were told to do, basically. And then I just want to get to the point where you made the decision. You said obviously some things cleared up mentally, and then obviously for your health. So what was it that it was like? Bam! You literally just walked out, or you?
No. So you want the breaking point that I got to, right? So I didn't freak out and like flip my desk over. Nothing exciting.
Because you're always waiting. I'm like, did he smash his head through the computer? Like, what happened?
They treated me so well, and I have nothing but good things to say about the people I worked with. Yeah. You know, I did a my letter of resignation, all that. Okay. But so my breaking point, it was, I take off the first 2 days of March Madness every year. And basically I run errands and, you know, take care of some things until about 12 o'clock. And then I do nothing but eat Popeyes and watch college basketball for 12 hours. Yeah. And that's like my that's like, I'm relaxing. This is where I'll be. If you need to reach me, don't bother me. But if you really need to, I'll be on my couch with Popeyes and my brackets. And I was supposed to relax. And, you know, this year was when I left. I couldn't stop thinking about my job. Yeah. And that was driving me crazy. I'm like, I'm supposed to relax, and I was so stressed out. Yeah. Now, another thing to just to be honest for the podcast, I had made a mistake at my job. And in the finance world, it's very expensive to make a mistake. Yeah. And so that was stressing me out. And then, you know, you're in office work. It's like you missed 2 days, but you got 7 weeks of emails you're going back to. Yeah, and it's like that would stress me out. Yeah. And then so this year I told my then fiance, now my wife, and I said, she had no idea what was coming, but I was like, I'm going to take the next 2 days. Well, she knew I was relaxing. I was like, while I'm relaxing, I'm going to try to schedule work in 2 weeks for 2 weeks. So that was my goal. So basically, I wanted to go to work on Monday, give my resignation, and then once my 2 weeks were up, I would have 2 solid weeks of work and still try to schedule work. Got it. Right? So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give my resignation, have 2 weeks of work lined up. And she was just like, okay, I guess. Yeah. You know, she didn't say like, don't do it, but I could tell in her face, she was like, all right. Because again, I had a maid, we were engaged, you know, it's like, that's it's a big deal. You know, you're talking about your future security. Yeah. And, so I tried to do that on Thursday, you know, through basketball. I was like trying to schedule work, making calls. And Friday morning came around and I did not have 2 weeks of work scheduled, but I was still like, I was like having trouble. I was literally having trouble sleeping. Yeah. And I'm supposed to be relaxing with college basketball and Popeyes. Yeah. And I can't sleep.
This guy in the Popeyes.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm plugging them. Like, free food. I mean, this fried chicken establishment. But, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I think I had like a week of work scheduled. And, I couldn't stop. I was just so stressed out. And I was like, that's it. That was my breaking point. I was so stressed and I was so like tense. Yeah. And then so my fiance at the time. What do I say? Do I say my fiance? Now she's my wife, but my then fiance. Yeah. And so we were talking on her lunch break, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna resign on Monday." Yeah. And she goes, "Oh, it's great. You got 2 weeks of work scheduled?" I was like, "Nope." Wow. I was like, "I got about a week."
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A light week. And
skimping on by.
she was like, okay, I'm on lunch. We'll talk when I get home.
She walked away and went to the bathroom to vomit.
Yeah. I was like, okay. And then I was like, that didn't go as planned quite yet. Because usually she's like she's amazing. And she's the most supportive person ever.
Yeah.
And so I thought she would be like, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be all right. We'll be okay. But she was like, I'm on lunch and we'll talk later. And I was like, it's not what I thought was going to happen.
She's like, I'm resigning from this conversation.
Yeah. She resigned, yeah. But now and then, so she came home, we talked through it, and I was like, I can't stop thinking about it. She knew I was having, I was stressing, and I had, problems. I shouldn't say problems, but I had made a mistake, and then I've always been weird about job security. I'm like, that could creep in. I was like, I'm just done. I need like this mental break. I'm like, this is not for me. And then she was like, okay, and she got on board,
Yeah. And so,
so I went to work Monday, and I was like, sorry, here you go.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I felt like I was like Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, I was just like,
yeah.
when he escapes.
Yeah.
But
so all right. So now walk us through that one skimpy week. Did work eventually pick up, or it was just
So this year, I kept thinking of this year's a template.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me see how this goes. But I always wanted to have 2 weeks scheduled.
Yeah.
And I always seemed to be like a week and a half. And then once I would feel like it was getting lighter, then I would like all of a sudden like have like another week and a half. So I was like, maybe that's just how this is. I'm a week to a week and a half out.
Yeah.
And so I was, doing things that way. And
so how was the stress different from the work stress versus now you trying to find jobs for yourself? Is it the same or is it different? Was it obviously the pressure's there, but it's different because it's your own gig?
I honestly did not feel that much stress about it.
Wow.
I really didn't.
Wow.
And really because it's just I knew that I was getting closer to something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And kind of
that's a great way to put it.
I mean, it's because a big thing of this, I say like my story and my journey, as corny as that sounds, like that's how I really think now.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm on a journey, man, and it's like, I just wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And then so now it's like, that's where I'm going towards. And it's like, that's what like starting a business and leaving that job was like the start of like a different path, I'll say.
Yeah.
To happiness, man.
Yeah.
As corny and as that sounds, and people, overuse it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's true. You got to be happy. And so that's why I was like, I honestly didn't feel that stress because I was like, this is going somewhere. Whether it's
crazy.
like this business or, I would line up with working with somebody, which I am now. I was like, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest difference. It's like, that happiness just totally takes that stress away.
Yeah.
And, so, don't get me wrong. Actually, I've had some days where I'm like, I'm failing. I'm a loser. I'm going nowhere. Don't get me wrong. Sure. It wasn't all like, oh, this is great. I'm going to be on Shark Tank next week. It wasn't that easy, but I didn't feel the stress.
Yeah.
I was like I need to find some work, and then that's how I got into like landscaping. I'll say it was I had to like not be so limited.
Yeah.
So that took away some stress. Started doing other things, not just like stump grinding, because it's a it's a service, and it's kind of like it's just one of those things where it's like maybe I want this, maybe I don't, and you try to sell what you make it look like, and some people are just like, you know what. It's not that big deal when I cut my grass every other week. It's just a stump. Never mind.
Right.
So
I got you.
I was like, I need to pick up other things. So
I like it. That's amazing. So you're getting married. So you quit your job and you're starting a new business. Or you're in the midst of this whole new business, all at the same time. And he says his stress levels went down.
Yeah. Believe it or not.
So then, how did that align up with you? to just also clear your mind and stop drinking and all that? Because that was
so
like
drinking
on,
was
July.
It's hard for me to say like when and where things went bad with that.
Yeah.
As with a lot of people that have problems with alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, that's why the fly and the nectar theory is so widely used. It's really hard to pinpoint. And you know, just over the years of you know, I got bit by the party bug early is what it was. I just like to have a good time. So I thought it was a good time.
Sure.
And that contributed. That was one of the biggest reasons for me leaving my job. I should say, once that was done, I was like, wow, like life is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't, because the thing is, I used to say, you know, there's things you tell yourself when you're a big drinker, the type of drinker I was. And it was like, I used to tell myself, this will make this more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
Or, you know, this makes people want to be around me more because I'm funny. And I was just the idiot, actually, you know?
Yeah.
So people wanted to laugh at me. Yeah, they want to be around me for a laugh at me, you know?
Right.
But in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm funny.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not funny at all.
Yeah.
And, you know, so over the years, it was just compounded. And then with stress, so it was hard to see, like, which one led to which. Sure. Was it the partying, you know, or me thinking I'm relaxing? That was a big one, too. Oh, this helps me relax.
Yeah.
You know, but it was hard. It's hard to say which led to did stress of work and not being happy lead to drinking, or did drinking make me feel that stress and unhappiness?
Right.
And for me, I really don't care to figure out which one because I'm moving forward.
Right.
You know, it was kind of like I just felt off.
Yeah.
And then I tried to quit. Or I shouldn't say I tried. I would quit I would say I'm drying out. If you say you're drying out, you have a problem. Yeah. That's just how it is. So I would say I'm drying out. You know, I'm going to do 3 months, do 6 months. You know, I would do that a few times, just back to the same habits. And, you know, then, so then I was dating my wife, and I tried to be like, have like a few drinks here and there, you know, social drinker. Yeah. And I just felt like I had, you know, again, dried out prior to dating. And then, so then I was like, okay, I'm in control. I'm good. And so I tried to have a few drinks here and there, and then that would like turn into more than a few drinks, like it always does. And, you know, I never got too drunk around her. And when I told her, you know, actually, when I told her, like, I was like, I'm going to quit drinking forever. Like, I'm never going to drink again. Yeah. She was actually kind of surprised because she'd never seen me, like, you know, I joke and I use the phrase in my prime. Yeah. You know, and, you know, when I say that, I'm really just meaning, like, I could put down some beers and, you know, like Frank the Tank, Bristol, you know. Right. So I shouldn't say prime, make a joke of it. But anyway, so she didn't really even know so I wasn't like that bad around her, but it's just something was just off. Yeah. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, I just knew it was like, man, I'm like I was still at my old job, but I was like, I'm kind of seeing things a little better, getting a little, you know, getting happier, starting to like learn to deal with stress. I had a lot of stress, a lot of demons. And I was like, but something's still off. And I was like, man, I think that's it. Yeah. You know, I woke up the one day, actually my day's July 16th, and it was a Monday. You know, I was just hanging out on a Sunday afternoon, you know, and then I woke up Monday with a little bit of a headache, but, you know, would drink coffee and take some ibuprofen, my normal routine. And I was like, man, I'm done. Yeah. I was like, something's not right. And then once I stopped drinking, man, it's just like opened everything up for me. Yeah. And that's probably I would not have quit my job. Yeah. If I was still drinking. Yeah. And really what alcohol for me took away from me was, you know, just my just like my fight, you know, it's just like I'm a competitor. Yeah. You know, and it's like not necessarily with people, but it's like I like to challenge myself. Right. when I was drinking, I was really looking for how to take things the easy way. How to be comfortable.
Right.
Is what I try to do, and that's another thing that like drove me nuts. I don't like to be comfortable.
Right.
That's what I realized too.
Yeah.
That's like part of my journey right now. I'm like, I find comfort in not being comfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So like all this is not this here. I mean like, having a business, now I'm in line of work I've never been in. Yeah. Like I'm very uncomfortable. Right. But I'm like, let's get it. Right. That's what I like. I want to, maybe, and I just like to challenge myself.
Yeah.
And I've just, and it's like I'm rediscovering my fight, I'll say. And by that I mean like within myself, for myself. Like I like to, be competitive and just fight for victory. Yeah. Whatever that is in front of me. Yeah. Maybe I'll be learning to cut hair and hit you up for a job, Miguel. You never know. You never know. I just like to challenge, be uncomfortable, find something new. And I'm just like that's just what keeps me going. It's exciting for me.
I like it. All right, so let's switch gears again. And I'm curious as to when you added the landscaping, and I know you gave like a little description. What did that look like? So now you have a stumper, the stump grinder. Did you just go out and buy a lawnmower? I mean, did you go get a rider? I mean, how'd that all work out? So obviously you realized that, like, all right, I need additional work. I'm gonna get a lawnmower. You already had one. How'd that work?
I had a very good mower for me. Yeah. And so I didn't buy anything, but I started picking lawns up because so last summer and then fall, I was real busy on weekends, but then people would ask me. They were like, "Hey, do you do this? Or next year you're going to take on lawns?" People were asking what can you do? What would you do? And I was turning it down because I still had my day job and I was pretty busy on weekends, thankfully. Yeah. And I was like, no, this is what I do, just on weekends. And, so then for like over the winter, like when I started thinking, I don't know exactly what, but
it wasn't John saying trust me.
No. I was starting to tell myself trust me. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I like that.
Really, I was starting to really think to myself like, man, what if you just left here and started your own business? Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Why not? And so like the wintertime, I was like punching numbers and I'm like, doing all kinds of math, and I started thinking, I'm like, wow, I could do this. And I was like, maybe next year. I'm thinking 2020. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe next year, maybe I can do it. Yeah. I'm like, if I pick up this many lawns, then that's this much a month, and so many stumps, then setting, I guess those goals you could say. Yeah. And one lawn led to two led to four, and it was just like, wow. I didn't even cut anyone's grass as a customer yet. I mean, as one of my customers, but I just had all these lawns all of a sudden. Wow. And I was like, wow. And, so then, I was fortunate to I made a friend with, so my wife has a friend, and her husband is a landscaper. Okay. Runs his business. Shout out to my man, Josh. If you're in Burlington, look at Vandenberg Landscaping. Got to plug him.
I like it.
Because I wouldn't have made it anywhere near where I am without him.
I like it.
He's one of the people I gotta always give credit to. So he was like, let me know if you need anything. And I'm like, if I were to do this, like what would this cost? And what would be the steps? And I mean, this dude talking thousands of text messages. Yeah. And like a couple phone calls. Like, this is what you do, these are the steps. You can't mess it up. Trust me. And I was he's like, you can't mess it up. Do this, and then charge this. And I'm like, all right. And he'd be like, check this video out. And then, so I was picking up some lawns. Then people were asking me about some other stuff. And then, still had some stumps. And I was like, I'm gonna do this. I can do this like now. Yeah. And that's when I set that goal. That's for to line up 2 weeks of work. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I was like, why not? Yeah. Why not me?
Yeah.
And then I gotta give a shout out to my man Miguel right here. I gotta tell a story how he helped me on my journey. He don't even know it. But this is why I like talking about myself, because you put yourself out there and you talk about yourself. It's not bragging. It's just like everyone can help somebody.
Yeah.
And this is how Miguel helped me. So I was watching that show, and they were breaking down his numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing. They're basically like, "You're crazy. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is insane." I remember Robert Herjavec. I'm a big fan of him. But he was like, "Miguel, what are you thinking?" And he was just sitting there like, I like it. I like it though.
Yeah.
Or whatever you're saying. I like what I do. I like coming to work.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like this dude's not, like, barely making it.
Yeah.
And you have these super successful people telling him he's nuts, and he's like, oh well.
Yeah.
And I was like, that spoke to me, man. It really did. And I'm like, wow. Because I was like, you know, and I'm going to confess, I actually watched that as I was at my desk at work.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. So I'm watching. So you have these successful people telling him he's nuts, and he's just like, oh, well. And I'm sitting at my desk like, same stuff, here we go. And then this guy's like, oh, well, I like what I do.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is something that just like spoke to me.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like I was enjoying what I was doing.
Right.
And then I was just like, man, thinking of that. And I was like, the money will come.
Yeah.
You know, as far as it depends on what you're looking for money, I should say. Everyone has their, you know, different goals, and I realize what mine are. And I don't really care about money, I should say, or things. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So that I guess probably helped alleviate a little stress. What you were saying earlier, sure. I didn't care about like, I need to be like, you know, take over the world of landscaping now. Right. I was just like, I just want to pay bills, you know.
Want your piece.
This guy that he flips houses that I do some work for sometimes. He's like, I just want to work just enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, man, like that. I keep that in my mind. Yeah. Keep what he said in his mind. I'm like, man, like that's kind of like how I feel.
Sure.
You know, so. You know, so going back to the question, it was like I was doing things that I enjoyed, and then, and I was just like picking up this other work, and I was enjoying it more and more, and then I was like, you know, the money will come, and I'm going to do it. I was like, I'm going to do it now. I'm not waiting until 2020.
I like it. So when it comes to your craft and the work, are you like super meticulous about things and it got to be a specific way? Because I know there's like there's landscapers. Well, we actually had a landscaper, Brian Johnson.
Oh yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah, and so he said one of the jobs that he had, there was a lady literally sitting out in front of her porch watching him do his whole little process. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, it's pretty intense. And I know certain people like, you know, their landscaping a certain way. Is that stuff that you deal with, or is it kind of like, doesn't bother you?
Yeah, more power to Brian, because if that was me, I would have said, watching, the price goes up for a tip. But no, you know, I everyone that I've met and talked to about landscaping, they're very like I'm very particular myself. Okay. And I know, like, there's landscapers that are like that. Yeah. I've never met one that's like, good enough. Yeah. You know, it's like you just take pride in it. If you enjoy it, then it's easy to take pride in it. And it's like, I imagine it's like, this is my house. You know, so I want to make it look like, you know, how I would want to walk up to my front door. Right. And then, especially, and even if you don't like it, but it's like, hey, this is your line of work. Yeah. You will not be in business for long. Yeah. If you're not particular, because I mean, word of mouth is a killer. And today with all these social media, your word of mouth reaches like the globe. Yeah. You know, and you'll be out of business in no time. So if you're not particular and picky on yourself, then you won't be in business for long.
So I guess it was about maybe 3 years ago. I'm not sure. I was going for like a little night jog or whatever in my neighborhood, and I snapped my foot in half like on a curb. The curb came a little bit faster than I thought it was gonna, and I just kind of twisted. Well, I thought I twisted my ankle, but apparently I snapped my foot in half. Long story short, it's like this time 3 years ago, so it was like early September. So the grass and all that jazz, that's still got to get cut. And I'm like, dude, I got a broken foot. What am I doing? So my wife goes on one of those like neighborhood apps or whatever it is, find a local, she says, my husband broke his foot. We need our grass cut. Is there anyone in the area? We're not trying to, we're doing this week by week. And it's only, don't expect basically a contract out of us. We just need it for a month. I just need some leeway so I can heal. And this dude jumps all over it. He's like, oh, yeah, this is what I do for a living. I do a bunch of side work. I do this. I do that. I do whatever. And I'm like, all right, bet. He gave me a price. I'm like, dude, just knock it out. I was already aggravated at the whole situation. Yeah. He comes. He like scorched my lawn. I mean, it was like it turned into hay the next week. He didn't even use it drive me crazy because he didn't even use. I mean, I don't expect somebody to use it. Yeah, he scalped it. Yeah. He didn't use. I'm not expecting edgers. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't even have a weed whacker. I mean, he didn't do that. There was nothing. So it was like frayed up, like up against our fence, frayed up long grass, looking like it's hugging the tree or hugging the fence. And I'm in there now. I'm even more aggravated because now she's like, so my wife tried to play it off. She knew it was bad, but she was like, oh, you just like things a particular way. You just like a particular way. So every person that walked into my house, let's go. Can we look at the backyard? Is that acceptable? I was like giving
sure.
And I'm like, dude, never again. And I texted him, I'm like, dude, I paid you and everything. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was probably like a 15-year-old job. Or a 15-year-old kid can do a better job than that, man. I mean, if this is what you do for a living, it was not. He walked his regular lawnmower. It was like a push mower that wasn't even like the spinning wheels, nothing. Yeah. And then a week later, so then we hired somebody. No, a week in between, my brother's cut, my other brother cut, and then it was like, all right, dude, I'm not gonna have them cut my grass too. They got their own thing to do. But it bought me time to actually get a real landscaper, who then came, and it was like this massive difference, right?
Yeah.
The funny part about that, my whole story is you're saying word of mouth. My wife rated this guy on this app because that's what you're supposed to do. And she's like, don't hire him. And basically no one hired him. The guy moved out of the section.
Probably changed his name.
Yeah, 1,000%. She took pictures. And people were like, what? But that was a guy who's just about the quick buck. He wasn't about, he's not a landscaper. He wasn't into what he did. And then I saw where he lived. I'm like, oh my God, if I had saw that, I would have never hired this guy. I mean, if you don't even take care of your own stuff, what are you gonna do with mine?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's what I would tell people. I'm like, I'm gonna treat your yard, your lawn like it's mine. Mm-hmm. And the thing with that is, I don't have the nicest grass either. Sure. I got the Bristol Township Special Blend, which is like 6 different types of grass.
Yeah.
And but
don't throw weed killer on it because your whole property be bald.
It's because Bristol Township's all weeds.
Seriously, I did that mistake. I threw weed killer because I'm getting advice. I just had this is when we first bought the house. I'm getting advice on manicuring my property, so to speak. Oh, put weed killer now. And then you put the seeds down here, and then he's breaking this whole thing down. Man, I put the weed killer. There's no coming back from that. It was awful. Yeah. I felt bad for the neighbors that drive by. You know what I mean? It was like one of them things.
You're that house in the neighborhood.
And quickly, I'm like, I'm trying to make friends. You know what I mean? And here's my lawn out here looking like it needs to be in the ER.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was absolutely awful.
You kind of got hosed there. That's tough to deal with.
It is.
It depends too. This is what I would tell people if you're looking for, ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions about, what people are going to do if you're hiring someone to take care of your lawn.
Yeah.
I would tell people. So what I would tell people is, I treat your lawn like it's mine.
Sure.
And what does that mean? I'm cutting your grass so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Now, here's what those 2 things mean. I don't want to cut my own grass. Yeah. I actually don't particularly, if it's not like sod, it's really just it's like I said, around here, it's all weeds.
Yeah.
We all have weeds in the Northeast.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and that worked though, because, and people are like, oh, that's kind of like, that's a little too, like, you don't really, it doesn't sound like you're putting pride into it. And I'm like, listen, people are just busy.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just too busy. So my lawns, I have 5 people that own their own business.
Yeah.
Different types of businesses. But matter of fact, here, I'll give you one example. And another shout out, because he also helped me through things. Ray Gonzalez, fan of the show, RG Detail.
That's right.
He works midnight shift, and then comes home and details cars all day, then sleeps for maybe an hour and goes back to work at night.
Right.
And so it's like, when's he going to cut his grass?
Sure.
So I'm like, don't worry about it, man. I got you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not promising you that your lawn's going to look like center field in Citizens Bank Park.
Sure.
But it'll get done. I'll be there. I do edging, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll look nice.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
It's like, just because you hire someone to cut your grass, you're not going to have, a fairway at Augusta. It's just not how it is.
Right.
So I would say just ask questions like or I would just say your landscaper should be asking you questions. What do you expect?
Right.
What do you want your lawn to look like?
Right.
And I would ask questions like that too, and people would just be like, listen, I just need somebody to show up and just get it done.
Yeah. Dude,
And
I mean, that's just great advice. I mean, just in life in general. Sometimes, obviously for communication purposes, but we all have expectations, whether they're high or low, doesn't matter. Everyone has expectations. Even if they say, I don't care, that's still an expectation.
Yeah.
Because your results, it doesn't matter. When your expectations are not met, that's when it leads into frustration. When frustration kicks in, depending on how you deal with it, it could possibly turn into anger. And we have a lot of people walking around upset, ticked off about everything because their expectations or whatever it was for life, their job, their relationship, their finances, their spirituality is not being met. And that could be a bunch of stuff. That could be your expectations are way too high, your expectations are way too low, you're out of touch with reality. I don't know. But it's a huge piece of advice to every once in a while chin check your own expectations and ask the questions. What are in this relationship, right? In this friendship, what's our expectation? I don't expect for you to shoot me a text every single day. If that was, I'm gonna be. Eventually I'm gonna be mad at you. I'm like, dude, this dude doesn't text me back. I don't understand. And meanwhile, you don't even know that's what I expected from you. You know what I mean? He's like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And that's creepy and weird. But outside of that, that's just a great business recommendation, but also just in life in general. I just want to highlight. That's all. No,
it's a great highlight because that was actually my life too.
Yeah,
yeah. Before I started, I'm a big advocate for mental health. By the way, too. I'm a huge advocate for that, and that was basically my problem. Was I had these expectations, or I had what I thought, like anything, like this is how this should be. Yeah. This is how this situation should go. Yeah. Or this, even like day to day, this is how my day should be. And it's like anything throws it off. I was like in a tailspin of like, this is crazy. Everyone's nuts. I'm the one that's normal. My schedule should have been followed. And it's like, no, Paul. Yeah. Like you have to adapt, Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like that hit home. What you said. Sure. That's how it is.
Yeah, I know. A lot of times when I explain things, I go around the block just across the street. But just to switch gears one last time. How do you manage the work-life balance? So now you have 2 gigs, right? Mm-hmm. Married man. How does that all incorporate, or is it?
Invite me in about a year and maybe I'll have it figured out. Invite me back. No, I'm just kidding. So it's tough. It was tough even before I had 2 gigs. Because I was just trying to work. Yeah. And I got to give a lot of credit to my wife. Yeah. First of all, is like she's just amazing. Like I don't even know, like that's an understatement. She does so much.
Yeah.
That's why actually that's why for the winter I was trying not. My goal was to work a lot in the summer, so in the winter I wasn't going to work at all.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a stay-at-home dad and pay her back.
Yeah.
She does so much running around.
Yeah.
I do not do my fair share of the house work right now. Yeah. So, so, and that's just kind of how it is. Yeah. Still. Yeah. And will be. Yeah. And she just pulls it all together. Yeah. Somehow. Right. Like she makes sure like we sit down for dinners. I'm big on that in my house. Sometimes, we're a blended family. So it's like which kids are where and when, but it's like, don't matter if it's dinner time, we're sitting down, you know? Yeah. So that's important for us. Yeah. I'll say to, even when I was on my own and that was my only income, I would still make sure, hey, if we're having dinner, then we're having dinner. Yeah. Always, it's just important. And, always, I would say if I could, a piece of advice.
Yeah, for sure.
even though I struggle with that. Absolutely. To be honest. Always set aside. I always make sure we set aside time. So dinner's big for us. Yeah. If people like don't particularly care for that, I would say like at least something, set aside time. Yeah. And stick to that schedule. Your schedule is going to go crazy if you try to like run a business. It's like you're never going to have one really. Yeah. Is what I mean. But we always set aside time for us and the kids. Yeah. And then we always make sure we set aside time for us, even if it's like we're going to sit on the couch and binge for a couple hours on something. For sure. Phones go away. I like it. And that's what we do. Like, make sure, like, okay, we're setting aside time, and we're going to stick to that. And so I shouldn't say I wouldn't say we have a balance, but I would say like we do spend time. Absolutely, it's a work in progress with us and the kids, and make sure we do fun stuff. So
I like it. All right, so one last piece of advice, if you will, bless us with. What is your recommendation for anyone who's trying to start either a landscaping company, a tree stump grinding company, whatever it is? It doesn't even matter if it's indoor, outdoor, just trying to start their own business.
I would say my one piece of advice would be to stay true to the reasons why you did it. Yeah. And so for me, it's like I was saying, I just want to find – just enjoy. So what I was saying was about my, expectations and all that, and that would just throw my days off, and I would be off. Yeah. And I can't say like I enjoyed moments or days because I was always thinking about, well, this got thrown off, this was messed up, so let's find something else. What's next on the schedule? What's going on tomorrow? Maybe that'll make me enjoy something. And I just wasn't. I just was not that happy. Yeah. And so for me, starting a business was that was my reason, to find something where I was a little happier, just keep getting a little happier, improve myself a little more, and challenge myself. So that was my reason. So I would say, find your reason and stick to it. If your reason's to be a millionaire, then chase that $1 million. I like if your reason is because, you want to help people, then stick to that. Yeah. For me, it was just I want to be outside, and I just want to do something where I don't wake up every day and say, "Here we go again." Yeah. Because no matter, like, I had stuff breaking all year long, and it was a struggle at times to find work. But I can honestly say, not one day did I wake up and say, "Here we go again." Yeah. Like, I was like, "All right, let's go." This is, even on the days where everything was broke, and I was like. I would have to like run to the mechanic. Everyone's at work, and I'm like, I'm not getting an Uber. Yeah. So I would like jog to the mechanic shop to pick my truck up. I'm like, hey, let's make the best of this, Yeah. It's like, let's go.
I like it.
And find a reason and just stay true to that. That's what I would say.
All right, so cool. So if anyone's trying to get a hold of you for your services, where can they find you?
Numbers? You can see some of my work on Instagram at PG Stumps, and you can give me a call, 215-436-0598 for anything you need. And Yeah.
I like it. So there you have it. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. We like to wrap up our shows with quotes. First one is by Brian Tracy. Your ability to discipline yourself to set clear goals and then to work toward them every day will do more to guarantee your success than any other single factor. Second one is by Napoleon Hill. Patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success.
Actually, I got a quote for you because I know you guys are big on quotes. I am too. This is one I live with every day. It's this guy's name's Jesse Itzler. He's an entrepreneur. His wife owns Spanx, so they're both like business gurus.
Yeah.
But he says, if you're an entrepreneur, as long as you don't give up, you're always in the fight.
I like it.
And that's what I live and die by that right now because, take on another job, day job, but I'm not giving up what I want to do,
Exactly.
Still in the fight.
I like
it. Not giving up.
Very good. All right, Stumped. In this episode, we have special guest Paul Guido. We cover topics that range from customers, small business, stump grinding, landscaping, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Brian Tracy and Napoleon Hill. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.